What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Uncovered podcast with Nick and Femi. I'm here, your boy, the host of the most, Mr. Femi, and I'm here with the most amazing co-host, Johl Dunn, and then Nick is gonna say it too, but whatever about that.
Oh, wow. Like, I really thought you started this morning like it was a different person. I'm like, wow, this guy's really changed. But like, nah, still the same old a-hole. What the hell?
What's good, people? Nick, what's happening, bro? How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing really well. I'm excited. I'm pumped. We got an incredible guest with us. And, like, I'm just loving these conversations, and I'm really just hoping that it just spreads a lot of value to a lot of you guys. So pumped to be able to deliver it.
100%. So here we have quite a special guest, as they always are. They always are. There's someone that we've known for a while now. We've been in like business courses with him before. We've seen him kill it, smash it in all different areas of life. But now we're going to get him to talk from a little bit of a different angle. We have the one and only Mr. Johl Dunn, man. What is happening, my man?
Boys. Excited to be on. Yeah, interesting. I love some of the interviews you've done already on the podcast, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah, man. I think this one's going to be really sick, man. Like, obviously, like Femi said, we've been in business courses together. You've seen us from when we literally just like started business and had no idea what the hell we were doing, spending like $10,000 on ads until we got our first sale. And like, it's just been so much growth with you and I together. So it's really an honor to be able to have you on our podcast and for you to be able to share your experience and your learnings with us. So I'm really excited to get straight into it.
Yeah, let's do it. Pumped.
Awesome, Ben. Well, look, the way I want to kind of kick this off, man, Johl, like, talk to us. You're a father. You got a beautiful child. Is it one child or is it two?
Three.
Not deep, man.
That kind of information doesn't jump up on the public, that information. But tell us, man.
Don't worry about it. I knew.
Yeah, but tell us, man, like, what has been your biggest learning up to date so far since being a father?
Yeah, wow. That's a really big question, and there's so many. I think one thing is like just the presence kids have. Like, they're so present. They're so in tune with where they're at and who they are, especially with the younger they are. Like my 4-year-old, he'd be crying hysterically one minute because you gave him 3 strawberries instead of 4, and then laughing 5 seconds later because they just get everything out in the moment. And like one sort of story that rings a bell or rings true about being present is my oldest daughter, Lola. She was probably about 3 at the time. She's 10 now. And I got home from work. I was doing wedding photography at the time. And I was very stressed. I was very stressful time. So she wanted to play dolls, and she had these little dolls, and we were playing dolls together. And I wasn't present at all. I was just thinking about the office, thinking about work. And she said, "Dad, you're not playing with me." And I said, "Yes, I am. I'm playing." She said, "No, you're not concentrating." And it was like, bang, like just bang, she just nailed it. I wasn't concentrating at all. And that was the moment I decided, all right, this is bullshit. I can't be this stressed in business anymore because I'm missing out on so much here with my family. So that was a big one. That was a real big one. Yeah. And that's something I've tried to embody every day, or a lot more. Like, I'm not perfect at it, obviously, but there's things I try to embody and bring my presence back when I'm home. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing, eh? Like, it's crazy how like kids are just so pure, and the things that they're able to identify and pick up, like, they just got such an eye for attention. It's just the things that we tend to be quite oblivious to that they're just able to pick up just like that. And that's why it's such an interesting question that I asked, because with kids and children, like, you learn so much. Like, they bring out another side to you that you had no idea whatsoever. And obviously, like, we're not dads. I don't know about Femi, but I'm not a dad. So, so like, it's very interesting to see what it looks like.
Well, it's crazy because it's so funny that you mentioned that because I am a dad and Nick's my child. And because you feel like the brain capacity of like your 4-year-old, Joel. That's why it keeps me up to date about like kind of like being like that. So thanks.
Nah, to be honest, very fair enough comeback. Very fair enough comeback. I could have. But yeah, man, I think that's sick. And like you touched on just even with your story that you were sharing, that how, you know, there was a lot of business stresses, a lot of external factors, and you really struggled with being present. So how did you actually balance going all in on your business whilst, you know, maintaining your family and keeping that dynamic in that relationship?
Yeah, look, it was something I battled with probably for quite a few years. Like I didn't do well for quite a few years, and then I bought little things in to help improve that. So one of the big things, because I had my studio at home at one stage, that was just a granny flat out the back, my photography studio. So literally work and life were just so intertwined. So I had a thing I did where when I left the studio at the back of the house, like photography studio, when I shut and locked the door, that like mechanism of actually doing that was like my switch off point. So when I locked it, it's like mentally, I'm like, that's it. Business is done and now it's family time. And it's just a really simple little thing, but it has to be something you do every day. Like can't be, you know, if you catch the train, it can't be driving home. If you catch the train sometimes and sometimes you drive, it has to be something you do. Like it might be putting your keys. Now for me, it's putting my keys in I get my phone and my keys in my wallet and I put it at the front door on the bench and then that's done. And for an hour, at least an hour, I'll leave my phone there, if not more, because when this is in your pocket and you're at home and it's buzzing and emails and Facebook's going off, you're not, you know, it takes your attention away all the time. So having that switch off is super important because then you can fully focus. And, you know, sometimes you do that and you're still thinking about work, but the concept is really strong to get that presence. Yeah. The thing is, like, if you don't have those switch off points when you have your own business, you slowly just burn out because you're not switching off. You're not having that time away. And it's just like, and you get less productive, you get less creative, everything sort of suffers. So you need that switch off point.
Yeah, exactly right. And that was something that even myself, when I was going into business, I struggled with a lot because business ends up being your whole life. You put your heart, sweat, and tears into making this thing work. And it's very hard to kind of like, without putting those practices and habits in place, it's very difficult to just switch off. And especially with our businesses, a lot of it, we run it on social media. So a lot of like the Facebook advertising, a lot of the conversations and stuff that we're having, like it's constantly, it's all through like legit a click of a button on our phone. So it's so easy for us to immerse ourselves within it. And I think that's a fantastic habit that you implemented as part of your routine to be able to like, you know, obviously everything's on social media. So I'm going to put my phone in the section in front of my house and I'm going to try to disconnect from it, which I think is so powerful. Did that take you a while before you were able to kind of get into that habit, or what was that actual journey like?
Yeah, look, a lot of what I found, it's trial and error. You try stuff, see if it works, all that sort of thing. I think like when I first got that switch off thing, phones weren't a big, like, I'm not as young as you guys, so phones weren't a big thing then. Like Facebook wasn't even Facebook wasn't really a thing back then, right? So this was, you just text and phone calls on that. Now it's like your alarm clock, your diary, your Facebook, like everything's on there, right? So it's interesting, like you find, you know, I'll come home now, put it down and you'll be doing something and, you know, I might be talking to my wife and she'll ask me a question. I'll go, oh, and then you'll go to reach your phone because she'll go, what are you doing tomorrow? Or what's the weather like? Or anything. It's all on your phone. You're like, oh shit, I don't know. It's down there.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll, you know, if I need to go, I'll go down there and I'll quickly look on it down there. I won't bring it back up and I'll put it back down and then head up. Because I was finding when you, like, especially when I started the coaching business probably as well, I was probably more on my phone because of this, like you said, you got people messaging, you got ads going, you got different things and you think if I don't get back to people like in 5 minutes, they're going to lose interest or which is not true. Like you've got to set the boundaries for your business. And if you only reply to people in these hours, so be it. And if they're keen, they're going to still be there. You don't have to be 24/7.
100%. That's so true, man. And that's like very 100%. Your story, bro, like I was obviously doing a bit of research and doing a bit of reading, and just knowing you, I know that you speak a lot about stress and anxiety, and particularly you were talking about a time when cash flow was a big thing in your business. Like it would fluctuate depending on the season, and your expenses would increase and your demands would increase as well. What was that journey kind of like? Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, so that was when I was doing wedding photography in Melbourne from say October to April. That's the wedding season, the nice weather, and it was you're rammed like 7 days a week, pretty much 6-7 days a week all year, all that 5 months, and then in winter it's dead. So cash flow is really high, and then it's really low. And I would find that my mood and my stress levels fluctuated with that. So when I was really busy and money was coming in, I wasn't too stressed. I was like, yeah, this is rocking. And then in winter, you're not as busy as the money's not coming in, so the stress builds. And it became apparent after a couple of wedding seasons. I'm not a fast learner, so it took a little while. And I just it got to a point where it wasn't healthy. It just wasn't servicing me anymore. So I needed to figure out how to get out of that mindset of good sale, I'm happy, bad sale or no sale, that sucks, and I come home in a mood. So it was all about, I guess, detaching a little bit from the outcome and knowing when it was busy. One way I got around this is when it was really busy, I was really good with my money, and I put money aside, knowing and worked out my expenses for the year. And then I had that reassurance that in winter we still had money there, and we knew it was going to be like that, so it didn't matter as much.
So is that something that you've kind of applied? Because that's just in business, right? Is that something that you've kind of applied in other areas of your life as well? Being able to kind of not be so stressed about the high times and the low times and things like that. Like, let's say, for example, because generally it's very, very normal for things to feel overwhelmed when things are hard and to feel happy when things are good, right? Like even in relationships, like even with my and Nick's friendship, like when things are really, really difficult, you're like, this is the fucking worst, everything about it is shit. But then when things are good and where everything's amazing, this is the best, he's the best bloke ever. But that's like that's not a grounded approach to relationships or to life. So how did you put that into your other elements, and how did you kind of apply that to less tangible aspects of your life?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's easy to be happy when everything's going well. Like anyone can do that, right? And it takes a lot of groundedness, self-belief to know that everything's going to be fine. And I think for me, it's a lot of having faith in myself and having faith in the universe as a whole and what's happening, and just trust, like a lot of trust. When things aren't going well, you go, I'm trusting I'm on the path. I'm on the right path. If I keep following, what I need to do, that'll work out. Now that's easier said than done, but that's super important. And I think the other thing that helps me, and I did probably from when my daughter was born through now 10 years ago, heaps of personal development, heaps of bettering myself and working out my mind and, how psychology and neuroscience and, all those things and different habits that I can put in place for myself that are going to service me and keep me on that almost more of a level pegging instead of having that all the time. And that revolves around relationships, being a dad, looking after yourself as a businessman. So having structure around that with habits, like the switching off thing, like my morning routine, different things like that are really important.
Yeah. And I really love what you said about the faith, because I think that's so important. Femi and I, we tend to talk about a topic where we speak about not judging the thoughts or not judging the experience for what it is. So that way we don't kind of say whether this is good or bad, because when we start labeling what those experiences are, then we start to, like you said, you start to feel stress, you start to feel anxiety, and you start to feel all these kind of emotions in your head because you've labeled that thought as like, oh, this is not what should be happening. So now I'm going to associate that with stress and anxiety. Or when these things are good and it's happening, now I'm going to associate that with happiness, joy, and like whatever you want to label it as. But as soon as we can eradicate judging those thoughts and just having that faith, and this is an experience, this is what like is meant to be, this is what the universe or God or whatever your spiritual beliefs tend to be has put in this place for me, then you're a lot more accepting of it, and you're a lot more able to see that the positive side and the gratitude that you can have for that kind of experience, which I think is, for me personally, it took me a long time for me to be able to get that, because I was always labeling stuff, and that's where I was like, that was my downfall with my mindset and my mental health. It was like, fuck, like this is shit, I can't bounce back. My cortisol levels are rising. I can't think straight. But as soon as I was just like, it is what it is, that I was just so grounded in my approach for everything.
And sorry, go, Joel. Go.
Oh, I was going to say, you said two key words there, acceptance and gratitude. Like, gratitude's part of my daily routine, like, and it's so powerful because it brings you into abundance mindset more. So, and a positive mindset, and then acceptance, like, I don't know if you know the emotional frequency chart, but acceptance is like when you can get to acceptance, you can move up to love, joy, and peace so easily. But accepting shit things are happening is very hard, and it takes a lot of practice. Like if something goes bad, and you accept it, it's not that easy, and it can take a day or a week or 2 weeks or whatever to start accepting what's happening or what's happened. But once you get there, then you can move through.
Yeah, really true. I love that. I think that that's something that that people aren't aware of, and people aren't really aware of being consciously aware of the active role that we can play in our emotions, in the way that we kind of like perceive life and handle life. Because life can get really, really sticky. Life can get really, really difficult. And I think that a lot of it comes from judgment of not just other things, but of like what Nick said, of like, things are either good or bad. There is no in-between type of thing, and there isn't just is. And because of that, you're unable to accept it, because people don't want to accept bad shit. Like, if something's bad, I don't want to accept that. That's why it takes so long for people to be able to overcome things. And it takes so long, like even something that's as real and tough as like someone dying or like breakups, divorce, that's like universally seen as bad shit, right? And people label that and they're like, okay, look, this is really, really bad. So they're unable to accept it for 2, 3, 4, 10, 15 years because no one wants to accept bad stuff. But the reason why they're unable to accept it is purely because of the judgment. But if it was a good thing, you're able to accept it straight away. Yep, that's for me. I accept it. Da. But the moment that it's just groundedness, and the same way that you accept good things is the same way that you accept bad shit, you're so much more able to just move on with life. And moving on doesn't mean forgetting or disregarding or not having any emotional processes or grieving or whatever it is. It's more just accepting it for what it is and being able to progress with your life. That's what acceptance really is. And like you said, being able to move on from acceptance to love, peace, joy. And that's kind of it. And I think that's really, really important because I see it so many times. Like people think that they've accepted shit, but they really haven't. It's because they, either just avoiding it or they don't want to really progress from it because it's bad and bad things aren't.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head. When you don't accept something, you are fighting it. So the more you fight it, the more it sticks around, and it just gets worse and worse, and you can get stuck in your head more and more, and it just self-perpetuates, right? But when you can accept it, it's almost like you can release it and you can let it go. And yeah, it's easier said than done in a lot of aspects. And like, let's take coronavirus, for example. It's happening right now. Like, it's hard to accept that, I had to shut the photography business here for 6 weeks, and like, it's okay to be, stuck in it for a while or not accept it. But, I was probably definitely there for a while. I was like, no, I'm not accepting coronavirus is going to make an impact. I'm going to push through. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it probably took me a few weeks to go, okay, this might have an impact. This might be pretty crazy, like everything's shutting down. But yeah, and the fighting of it, and I definitely fought it for a while, and I didn't accept it. And like, nah, like I'm a mindset coach. I'm going to punch through this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And that was perpetuating it more because I was fighting it. And then I went, now last week or so, like probably a couple of weeks, I've accepted it a bit more and just, okay, slow down, accept what's happening. And then it's sort of flowing a bit better now.
And I really love that. I think it's, for people, 'cause I know that you were mentioning that, you know, pre-coronavirus to now coronavirus now was very big different life stages for you. And I think this is very relevant right now because to a lot of people, like coronavirus is the thing. Like this is I don't want to make this podcast about this, but I also want to make it relatable for a lot of people that are going through these kind of things to see that, you know, there's bad times, there's good times. Yes, I'm a mindset coach. I'm meant to kind of make it look like, you know, don't worry, it's all right. I don't, you know, it's okay. No dramas. I'm not affected by this. But if you're able to kind of share your experience in a bit more detail about what that transition was like to you so that people can just understand a little bit, like, you know, we all kind of go through this. And even though I'm proficient in maybe, you know, breakthroughs of mindset, like I still have my whole hard times that I need to overcome. So I'd love if you could just like take a moment to kind of just share what your experience was like pre and now coronavirus.
Yeah, sure. Like I think when it first hit, we shut the photography studio and then I put all my energy into the coaching, building a new program out. I thought, all right, cool. Now I've got a bit more time. I'm going to smash this program. So I didn't allow any time to transition or to a, you know, what was going on. Like our kids were homeschooling, the business was shut down. Like we couldn't see love. Like everything changed really quickly. And I just pushed through for probably the first month and I didn't allow any negative thoughts or anything to pop in. And then I hit a wall, like definitely hit a wall. And there's a lot of talk about lower emotions, guilt, shame, all that sort of stuff, because like I'm a mindset coach. This shit doesn't happen to me. And I hit like a lot of anxiety. I got a lot of anxiety about it. A lot of like feeling like stuck energy. And then I consciously said, no, I've got to take, because I put a lot of pressure on myself, obviously being a high achiever and trying to achieve. So I just took all the pressure off for like a week and went into self-care mode and like meditated more, went for more walks, spent more time with the family. Like we did some really cool, you know, family walks and different things. We got a fire out the backyard, sat out by the fire and just took the pressure off and was for the first time in a long time being okay not being busy. Like, cause I think I was addicted to being busy. Like, because I've got 2 businesses and a family. It's a busy life, right? And you take all that away, I think I really like, and there's a lot of lessons that can come out of that coronavirus and everything. For me personally, I think I was addicted to being busy. I was probably holding more stress than I was acknowledging as well. So releasing all that and not spending enough time taking care of myself, like as in, you know, exercise or going for, you know, meditating as much as I should have or whatever it is. But because I was too busy doing what I needed to do for the family or the businesses. Yeah.
That's epic, man. So what do you think now that we've been in this situation, you've gone through this lesson, what are some of the things that you're going to apply onto when coronavirus settles and the situation eradicates? What are you going to now start applying into your life that you weren't doing before coronavirus hit?
Yeah, really good question. I think as far as a coach goes, I'm going to bring in a lot more emphasis on self-care as well. So I did have that in my coaching, but I probably didn't emphasize it enough. I've sort of noticed now there's 4 real aspects to most people that I coach. So it's being a parent is one, being a partner is one, being a business owner, and then self. So you got 4. And a lot of the time we're ignoring 1 or 2 of those on a pretty heavy basis. So it might be you're all in on business and you're neglecting your partner or you're neglecting your kids. I was neglecting self a fair bit. So it's about making it a lot more holistic. One big lesson for us as a family is we're going to spend a lot more time not being busy. Like when you got 3 kids, you got swimming lessons, you got dance lessons, you got basketball. I coach basketball. My wife coaches the kids basketball as well. This, like every night we had shit on. So we're going to pull right back. The kids can do a couple of activities, but we're just busy, too busy. So we love spending time on a weekend, not having anything to do because you can't see anyone. So you just at home. So we've played a lot more board games, gone for walks with the kids, interacted with them more. That's been a massive lesson that they're the important things in life. Like the joy, that's where you get the joy from. And like as a parent, like I think we neglected or we were too busy to have time to do that a lot, which is a really big lesson for me.
Absolutely. And I think the self-care, like I think a lot of people struggle with self-care because like you said, like people that are entrepreneurs, people that are ambitious, trying to do amazing things, that tends to be the first area that's neglected. It's like, I'm going to start putting everybody else first because I'm put everything else first except for myself because I put myself as a high achiever. I'm someone that's ambitious and driven. I can suffer as long as other areas of my life start to excel, it's not really the best approach to do it. And what we always talk about in our podcast and what we tend to preach about is about having like a focal point system where we're able to effectively distribute our points because we're only so finite as human beings that we need to have, like you said, 4 core areas that you pick that you think are really important. And you really just got to dedicate time and distribute your points to make sure that they're all being hit no matter what. And I think that's a really good key to be finding balance, but also finding that fulfillment, that happiness, that joy, that peace that you were talking about. I think that's absolutely essential for any business owner or anyone that's really ambitious to be able to implement into their life.
Yeah. And I think like I'd already, with being dad's really high for me, like really important for me. So a while ago, a couple of years ago, I set in my structure of my week because I was noticing I wasn't home as much as I needed to be. So I set like Tuesday mornings, I drop the kids off at school. Friday nights, I pick them up from school. I coach my son's basketball team and I only work one Saturday a month. So they're in the diary now and the girls here know, and, you know, people I work with, they're non-negotiables. So you have to have things in your diary that are like, then, you know, my workouts on a Wednesday and Friday morning at 6 o'clock, they're in the diary, they're non-negotiable. So you need those things in first and then your work goes in around that. Now, another layer to that is now the self-care stuff that I have to bring in, I think, more and put them in, like the workouts already in there, but some other little things that are non-negotiables and they're to keep that level, keep it all working.
Definitely, man. Absolutely. So what I want to do now is that I want to kind of change this dynamic because obviously you've learned a lot. You've been in business for like ages since like, 22, you had your business that was up and running. Talk to us a bit more about like the relationship side of things. Now being a parent, having like a legit family to look after. What do you recommend for anybody that's like quite ambitious, anyone that's supposed to get into business and be an entrepreneur? What do you think are some of the key things that you wish you had known now that you could share with someone that's going into business to prevent any business stresses or external stresses from impacting their relationship?
Yeah, really good point. Number one is communication. Has to be communication. So when you're in business, like early on, I would shut off and I wouldn't share if I was stressed or, you know, I saw it as my role, my job is to make the money. So, you know, I don't need to share that with my partner, but you do, because then they're not on the same page. They don't know what's going on. So communication is key. And having, also having like your values line up or talking about your values. Like I see a big thing with partners is like, you know, how do you want to raise kids? Do you want to have kids? You know, when you have kids, how do you want to raise them? What are really important values there? And like having enough time to sit down and go through those things so you're on the same page all the time. And the other thing is trust. Because when you have a family, you've got to trust the other partner. Like my wife makes most of the decisions about the kids stuff because she's in the trenches and she's being the mum and doing it. And I trust whatever she says, you know, well, bigger stuff we'll talk about, obviously, and financially and business-wise, I'll make a lot of those decisions and the bigger ones we'll talk about. But yeah, definitely communication is key. And I guess like early on, I wasn't a good communicator. I'd bottle stuff up. But when you've got someone that you trust that you can talk to about, okay, I'm struggling with this, I'm stressed about this, get it out. It's like, you know, it's cathartic, and like that's important as a business owner to have someone you can just verbal diarrhea on at times. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. I think that it's even just not just with like the romantic relationships, also with like a lot of other platonic relationships or family relationships, just communicating and people being on the same page as you. Like no one can help you, no one can talk to you about stuff, and no one can empathize with you if nobody knows what's going on. You know what I mean? Like so many times we act as superheroes in whatever we're going through in life, not just business. Like might be going through work, coronavirus. Like so many of us have been smashed by coronavirus, and there's so many people, like there's people in my life that like they haven't worked for 2 months and they're still trying to act as though financially they're still on top. And it's like, it's just silly. Like everybody knows that that's not the case and no one's judging you for it. But if you're not communicating, people are just going to act as though everything is sweet. And then you're going to feel stressed. It's like, why is he asking me to do this? Why is he asking me to do that? Doesn't he know I've got like $8 in my bank account type of thing? And it's like, that's because no, he doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Like nobody's like, there's no communication there. And it's really, really important that like when shit's bad, then you talk about it. When shit's good, you got to talk about that too. And that's with everything that's happening in our lives, even just like if we're feeling emotional stress, financial stress, physical stress, whatever it is, no one can be there for you if they don't know. And I think that you'd be surprised. The people that are in your life and that you love, they're usually there for a reason. So they'll more than likely be proficient in being able to support you in whatever way that they are able to support you in. So I think it's really important just to have that confidence and be vulnerable and courageous to be able to kind of say what you feel is really, really important.
Yeah, I think it's like you hit the nail on the head. It's being vulnerable, and that's hard for like a man and a businessman usually, because like now I've got this, I'm fine and like stoic and whatever. That's really important, and like I've noticed with my clients I'm coaching at the moment, like through the coronavirus, a lot of them were doing really well and we were coaching through it, and it was really exciting. And then probably about 2 weeks ago, there was a big crash. Like everyone started to really struggle and really like, I think it was a fatigue, a bit of fatigue had set in, that people were out of business for quite a while, not much money coming into back out of lockdown. I think there's some anxiety around that as well. And the main thing I think people are struggling with is like, there's no control and there's no certainty. Like no one knows what's going to happen really. So that was playing, and like, I've got people I coach and I'm saying like, reach out if you need, like we have our calls, obviously reach out. And they still, don't reach out. I need to prompt some people because they feel like, no, I've got it. But you don't. Reach out and talk to people. That's like the best thing you can do. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it stems from because going into business or chasing after a dream it's so ambitious. It's like not a lot of the population or people in this world tend to go after things. So when you make that bold step to be like, you know what, I'm going to be the one that's going to chase after something, and then it fails and it crashes and you're struggling, you don't want to be the first one to admit it, because a lot of the times in this industry, it's a very lonely journey. It's a very lonely journey, and people are going to be like, oh, see, I told you not to do that. You should have just did your uni degree, or I told you shouldn't have quit your job. Now look at you. And no one wants to accept that. It's like what Femi was saying. It's that judgment. It's that a judgment that we allow to really take control of our lives and dictate how we move, how we seek for help, and do all these kind of things.
100%. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, like you said, just to reiterate my point, Nick, it's like, it's literally the reason why you're not reaching out for help is because you judged the situation as bad. Like you told yourself that it's bad to be in this position. It is bad to be out of business. It is bad to be this. But in reality, why? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can understand your thought process, but it's kind of like, if you have, like what you said, Joel, if you have faith in the process and faith in your journey and faith in whatever your belief system is, would you be so stressed? Probably not. Like if you're a little kid, right? If you're a little kid and you're going with your dad, you're teaching your kid how to like ride a bike, and you're walking with your kid, and he wobbles, and you pick him back up, and he wobbles, and and he's going there, and he's wobbling. he's still smiling and he's still riding because he knows his dad is right there. That's not going to let him smack his head on the wall and all that kind of stuff. He's not going to try and jump off it by himself and walk himself. He's going to keep on that bike and keep trying to like, ride along because he has faith in his dad that he's able to look after him. And the fact is that like, when we're doing that type of stuff, we're not acting like we have faith in our process, in our universe, in ourselves, in whatever it is. We're just saying that as soon as we wobble, fuck it, too much. I gotta jump off. And it's like, do you know what I mean? And that's the reason why we stuff up so many times and we try to fix shit ourselves, or we don't look to ourselves or the people around us or to God or to the universe or whatever it is for that guidance and help.
Yeah, totally. All really relevant points. And like kids don't care where their next meal's coming from or, because they just trust it's just all provided for them. That they've just got unwavering faith in it. And like when you're the business owner, you feel like you're the top, like everything comes down to you, but there is a higher purpose. There is something above you, I believe. I'm not what you'd say religious, or more spiritual, I'd say, but there's a higher purpose, or there's something that's always looking at, got your back. You've got to just trust and take that step forward sometimes when it's uncomfortable or it's uncertain. And it's never been more uncertain than right now. So it's like testing people for sure. I think this whole global pandemic is testing people's faith in themselves and in the universe for sure.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you, like, what do you think, just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, what do you think is the one conversation you believe is so essential for any entrepreneur to have with their intimate partner before trying to go all in their business, knowing what sacrifices are going to be required? What's that one conversation that you think is paramount?
I think it's really important to, sit down and have an open, honest conversation of what it might look like. Like if you're thinking I'm going to start a business, okay, what's that going to look like? Turn the TV off, sit down and go, this is best case scenario, this is worst case scenario, this is all in between. What are your thoughts? Have you got my back? Should we do it? Like, what are these? Everything, just hash everything out, because you don't want to just go into a business and have your partner's got no idea what's going on. And then, like any business, it can take a year, 6 months, 2 years to really kick off. So there's going to be some struggle. There's going to be some stress. You need to know that they've got your back 100% and hash all that out. So that's super important. I think, like when I started my photography business, I was 22. I had no idea what I was doing. And I said to my wife, she was girlfriend at the time actually. And I said to her, like, what do you think? And she said, go for it. Just that really simple. And then we had a conversation about it, and I had no idea how hard it would be. Or like, I borrowed money to buy a camera off my parents, and then I hired a laptop and started my business out of a share house. Like if this was the living room, I had a little desk in the corner. My mate, two guys, two of my mates to live with, they'd be watching TV in this corner, and I'd have clients over there trying to sell them a wedding, right? At 22 years old, and like with furniture we picked up off hard garbage, and that's how it started. And like looking back, it's like, you're fucking crazy. Like that was stupid. Like, but it worked. It worked. Somehow it worked. Yeah.
That's that faith, bro. That's honestly that faith right there. Like you had no idea that it worked, but you're like, man, fuck it. You know what I mean? No, but I love that. Oh, that's amazing. But like, look, I've actually really, really enjoyed this conversation, Joel. I think that like it's so much insight and so much relevance and wisdom. Like I feel like, dads always have so much of that, like that, that wisdom. Do you know what I mean? Like there's nothing that would teach you more than having kids, right? And being in a marriage, right? Like that's some real tough shit. Like compared to business and marriage and having kids, there's no comparison, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's much harder to have a fruitful relationship and a marriage and children. So yeah, look, I'm really, really grateful for it. I'm gonna really take those tips into how I parent Nick and really be able to. As that as possible. So, nah, don't worry, Nick. I'll teach you how to ride a bike after. Don't worry.
You're so dumb. You're actually so dumb. Whoa.
Nah.
But honestly, man, like that was so good, and I really appreciate you coming up and just being like your true, authentic self. I want to ask you one random question before we wrap up with the rapid fire. But if there was, out of all your learnings that you've had so far, what is the one biggest piece of advice, the one biggest thing you'd want to teach your children if they could watch your whole life on a TV screen and like, there's one part that I want you to grab out of my life and apply to your life, what would it be?
I think that's a really good question. To be happy, like that's the goal in life, whatever that is, whatever you want to do. And I think if it's have a job or have a business, do what lights you up, do what makes you happy and is in alignment with what you do, because it doesn't matter how much money you got, it's that how happy you are and the relationships you have with people. Those are the keys. Like if you can nail those two things, bang, you've got it. You got it sorted. Yeah.
Boom.
Some more fatherly wisdom, just to that thing. I bet. So let's do the rapid fire questions. So it's going to be 5 questions, 1 word, 1 sentence max, short and simple, no explanation. If we want an explanation, we'll chat to you after. But just really, really simple, short ones. And then, we're going to end it out from there. Ready? Favorite movie?
Do it. Bad Boys.
Okay. Which one?
Bad Boys. The first one, the original.
Okay, good choice.
Yeah.
That was a good one. All right. Favorite travel destination?
I love camping. We go camping at Bright. That or Bali.
Okay.
Yeah, we hate camping. Bro, when we went to the amazing racing day, we're like, all right, guys, you reached your pit stop. Here's a tent.
And then you hear baboons and jackals and shit next to your room. And we were tripping out on malaria tablets because we had to take malaria tablets.
Yeah.
What an experience, man. Cool. What's the most important thing in your life? So item, so not a phone or a person or a pet or a laptop or whatever, like an item, like a sentimental item.
That's a good one. What would sentimental item? I'd probably say I've got a notebook that I write like notes from books I've read or podcasts that it's like gold, so much gems in it. Like if I was to pass anything on to my kids, it'd be that. Like, here's some life shit right here. Read this. It's not my stuff, it's stuff I've read. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, dope. And what's the most attractive quality in someone?
I think presence and authenticity. Yeah.
I like that one. We've done many episodes and no one said that.
No one said that. No one has said that. We don't know what episodes were. No one said that. That's good. And what's your number 1 tip / advice for life?
Advice for life or business or?
Life, just life. I think you hit it a little bit earlier, but if you wanted to give something different, a different angle on it.
Yeah. I'd say don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah. Less in here, more in your heart, more in your alignment.
So, that's powerful, man. That's powerful. That is actually very powerful. People didn't deep that one. That's a really powerful one.
Yeah, but that went over their heads. People didn't catch it. They're up with the ball, bro. Say it one more time. Say it one more time for him.
Okay, I said, don't sweat the small stuff is key, and live more in your heart than in your head. Like, get out of your head, drop into your heart, and move from there. Take action from there.
No. I'm gonna end it there because anything else I say after that is irrelevant. It doesn't. So, now that was really, really, really special, Joel, man. Honestly, like there was so much, like really grounded wisdom, and I don't even know if you realize how much of an impact you're gonna have with that, with what you just said. So I'm really, really grateful, really, really grateful for that. Yeah, Nick, do you have anything that you want to say before we completely wrap it up?
Nah, man, I think that like we've said a lot. Like this has been such an incredible episode, and I'm just really humbled that you're able to share what you've learned with all our audience and everyone listening. And I really hope, like we always say, that people are able to take out bits and pieces from what they've learned and apply it to their life. And I want to say that if anyone was listening right now and there's been like a aha moment, or there's been like a, oh, that like I like that part, I want you to pass that on. Share that with some other people. We want to really make this global. We want to be able to impact and change the course of so many people's lives that are listening to our episodes. So I really encourage you guys that if there was something that you got out of this, pass it on. Share it with your friends, share it on your socials, because that can really go a long way. And me personally, I would love to also hear what you learned as well, and I'm sure Joel would. So don't hesitate to reach out to us at our Instagram at NickandFemi and share what you've learned. And Joel, for the guys that want to reach out to you and maybe have a chat with you, what's the best place for them to connect with you on?
Yeah, probably Facebook, JD Mindset Coaching, and on Facebook, and yeah, reach out there. I'd love to, yeah, if anyone wants to chat or hit me up for sure. And it's been awesome being on with you guys. Had heaps of fun as usual. You know, you guys, so much energy, love it. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for another episode of Uncovered with Nick and Femi. Hope you guys learned a lot from this. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, leave a review. I would love to hear what you guys learned, what you didn't like, what you'd want to hear more on, etc., etc. And like always, follow us on our socials at Nick and Femi. Also check out the visuals and YouTube at Nick and Femi. And that's it for us. You guys have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you guys very soon.
Pieces.